Hey guys, Bobby Rio here with Rob Judge, and we've got a much requested video for you today. We're going to be talking about how to get out of the friend zone. And not just get out of the friend zone, but how to destroy the friend zone where you actually completely turn the tables on the girl, snatch all the power out of her hand, and get her completely chasing you. So, let's first talk about why you probably wound up in the friend zone. And when we say friend zone, we also just mean acquaintance zone, or a girl that you work with, a girl from your social scene, any girl that it's not at a level where it's romantic right now. It's a level where she sees you and it's more of a friendly acquaintance type relationship. And the reason that this occurs is usually one of two reasons. One is that right from the beginning, you kind of pussyfooted around it. You never really did anything to create attraction, and she just kind of mentally compartmentalized you as a friend. Sometimes a lot of times you're afraid to kind of let your interest be known. You're afraid to establish yourself as a sexual being, and because of that, she just kind of pigeonholes you as a friend or an acquaintance. The other reason is maybe she was attracted to you, and this happens a lot, where a girl is initially attracted to you. She goes on a date with you. She goes on a couple dates with you. She hangs out with you. She's feeling it. And there's a window of opportunity, right? A girl feels attraction, and a window opens up. And if you don't strike while that window's open, the window closes, and not only does your opportunity go, but she kind of starts resenting you and kind of like thinks you're like a pussy because she put herself out there, you didn't make the move, the window closed, and women really expect things to happen fast when there's chemistry.
Absolutely. She's excited. She's probably going talking to you about, to her friends about you. She goes home after the first date or the first time you meet her, and she's excited for this new guy, and then all of a sudden it's like so anticlimactic because the guy never makes a move. He never really mans up. He's sort of conforming to what he thinks that she wants, and he thinks he's being a gentleman, he thinks he's being chivalrous, but in actuality, he's not really giving her the experience that she really wants, even though, ironically, he thinks he is.
Yeah, so what happens then is sometimes she'll actually say, I'd rather just be friends, and if you've ever gotten that speech, I have. It's a terrible feeling when you get the, pitiful, you're really nice, but I really like you as a friend, Maybe you actually had the pleasure of getting that speech, or maybe she just casually, did it where she kind of gave you, I call it the slow fade, where she just stopped hanging out as much, kept you along in more of a friendly, or even worse, a fan role to boost her own ego, but you knew that it's no longer, there's no longer that romantic feeling on her part. But what happens then is a lot of guys think that I'm going to get out of this by just spending more time with her and showing her more things. But what's happened here when you get into this role is that there's sort of a pattern that begins taking place, right? And all these unconscious rules are there. And she recognizes it, you recognize it. And it's kind of like we talk about the power in a relationship. And she's got it all. And you may notice that when you think about it, you'll notice that maybe it's a girl you work with, and you're always the one to initiate the hello or the first conversation of the day. Maybe it's something as simple as you kiss her ass, when you're hanging out, you see her at social events, and she just expects you to kind of pump up her ego and make her feel good about herself, compliment her. Maybe it's just agreeing with her, Maybe she likes a certain style of music, or she's into... I was telling him earlier, maybe she's a pessimist. I used to be friends with this girl who was very pessimistic, and I'm not that way. But when I'm around her, I'm taking on that pessimistic thing. It could be, the pattern of if she texts you, you always get back to her right away. There's a lot of these little patterns that occur within a friendship or any sort of relationship.
It's like you said, a lot of it's unconscious, so a lot of it you're just doing, because initially, if you would, we've all had that soul-destroying speech, where it's like, I'd rather hear puppies being tortured than to hear, let's be friends. And when these patterns really kind of take hold of the relationship, you don't even realize it's happening. So if you come to me, maybe 10 years ago and said, hey, Rob, the reason that you're in the friend zone and the reason you can't get out of it is because you're adhering to these patterns in your relationship. And I was like, what? No, I'm just being myself. I enjoy hanging out there. But if you really microanalyze your relationship with the girl that you're in the friend zone with, the patterns start emerging. You start looking at like even things that are very, very cut and dry. Not necessarily like, oh, who says hi first? Like that stuff you might be able to recognize, but look at like what you do on social media. Are you the one to always like her posts? Are you the one to always leave comments? Are you the one, like you said, like go through your old text messages? Who's the one who sets up plans? Who's the one who's always driving? Who's the one who's always paying for stuff? Because this rule book exists, and this rule book is keeping you in the friend zone.
So, how do you open that window back up, right? Because, like we said, you're not going to get out of the friend zone continuing the pattern that you're already in. You've got to open that window back up, and that window will open back up. I've seen it. I've taught enough guys how to open that window back up, but you got to be able to act fast when that window opens back up because it will close again. But in a second, we're going to tell you how to get that window to open back up. But first, you got to understand a little bit about what makes a girl fall for a guy, right? Because a lot of guys think, well, if I just hang out with her and I spend more time with her and I'm funnier when I'm around her and, I wear nicer clothes next time I see her, she's going to automatically change her mind about me. But the way attraction works with women, and it's part of the reason why you may think, well, why are women so in love with jerks or assholes or bad boys? It's because a big facet of falling in love with someone is thinking about them when they're not around. And you may have experienced this yourself, maybe even with this girl where you're at home and you're thinking about her. You're hanging out with your friends, you see girls and you think about her. She said something to you and you're home wondering what it meant. And that's what she's doing with these jerks, and that's why she's falling for them so quickly. And that's what you need to do with her, getting her thinking about you in this way. So how do you do that? So there's a few steps that you need to take, and we're going to talk about step one. And that's where you begin introducing this uncertainty, this confusion into the relationship. And it's going to be very subtle. And the best way I can describe it is if you've ever been with a girl and you had a certain relationship, but then something changed. And on the surface, everything was the same, but you had this gut level feeling like something's not right. And this step is where you're going to begin giving her things to go home and think about and obsess over. What you're going to be doing essentially is slowly orchestrating what I call a power grab. And it could start with something as simple as, a girl you work with, maybe you start not saying hi to her first. And slowly you're going to grab all the power right out of her hands.
So one of the most important aspects of making the power grab work is, like what Bobby said, it's all about subtlety. You're not going to do anything over the top. This is all going to be under the radar stuff that is in alignment with your personality. That you're not going to suddenly start acting like an asshole or start doing stuff that's really flagrantly not stuff you would do. You're simply doing, breaking certain expectations, going back to that rule book and twisting some expectations so that you give her that same sinking feeling that Bobby was talking about earlier that you probably felt at some point with a girl that you were interested in. And I mean, it could be as subtle as the response time, how quickly or how not quickly you respond to one of her texts. It could be, like Bobby pointed out before, who says hi first, in a certain situation. It can be very, very subtle things, but you're going to do enough of these things so that you give her this feeling of uncertainty, so that she's thinking about you when you're not there. She's trying to piece together what the hell is going on with this guy that I thought I had figured out. And once you have her feeling that really actually very positive mix of uncertainty and just
curiosity and intrigue.
Yeah, it's like this sort of swirl of emotions is that essentially once you've done that and she's feeling that is step one to the scrambler.
So what the scrambler is, it's a sort of evil but very effective mind game that Rob and I figured out where we sort of mapped it out, right? Where you're able to kind of orchestrate a way to get inside her mind and push very specific buttons that get her obsessing about you, which ultimately wind up with her chasing you. And the best part is she's going to think it's her idea. She's not going to know anything that you're doing. She's just going to find herself drawn to you. So what we did is we wanted to keep this video short. So below we have a video, it's slightly longer, where we're going to walk you through the entire process of the scrambler. And like I said, you can use this on a girl you work with, a girl you're in the friend zone with, an ex-girlfriend. You can use it on that girl that serves you coffee at your Starbucks in the morning. It doesn't really matter. It's very effective. So check out the video below.